Therefore, it is more than likely she can come and go with decency and dignity, and that her natural ornaments will not create an inordinate liability for her, like so happens when you see women wearing jeans and clothing that seem as if they painted it on themselves. Now all you have to do is look at these two women and you can see the problems that exist. Now of course, it doesn't mean that every woman that doesn't cover herself completely, it doesn't mean that she's immoral, it doesn't mean that. But the Quran gives to the Muslim women what we consider to be an ounce of prevention is worth what? What is it called? An ounce of prevention is worth what? A pound of cure. So just like any one of you, if I asked you, what's your PIN number? You wouldn't tell me. If I came to visit you in your house, you wouldn't have your certificates of deposit in front of me. You wouldn't have your jewels in front of me. You wouldn't have your stack of money or your savings in front of me distributed just because I'm a friend and everything should be transparent. No, you have those valuables in a place that is safe. Might be a bank, might be a safety deposit box. Well, that's just money. That's just tangible things. So don't blame us and don't blame God if he tells us that our mothers and our wives and our daughters, that they should be covered and in a safe place. Safe place. The person asked about segregation. Why do Muslim women, why are they segregated? They're not segregated. They're not segregated. They're separated. There's a difference between segregation and separation. For instance, outside here you have toilets that say male, female, don't you? Don't you? Why? Why shouldn't there just be a toilet? Because there are sensitivities that we as moral, decent, dignified, educated people accept. That there are sensitivities and privacy that the female would like to have as opposed to just walking into an open toilet. Now maybe in Amsterdam or some other places in Europe where they just have open toilets, it's different. But in most cases in the world, in most places in the world, they select to have a male and a female toilet. Why? Because there's the inherent inclination of human beings to provide sensitivity for women and sensitivity for men. Now in Islam, for us it's not a matter of being inherent. It is something which is God-given inspiration to do what? To separate the sexes. That means the genders. Doesn't mean absolute separation, like we can't see each other, we can't talk to each other, but generally my wife just doesn't, I don't go to another man's house and I just sit down with his wife and dance with his wife, and he sit down and dance with my wife, and this is a matter of friendship. Bob, just drop over anytime you like. Okay? We don't do that. No, I come to visit Bob or Abdullah. Abdullah's wife comes to visit my wife. I don't socialize with his wife, and he doesn't socialize with my wife. Although there may be occasions where we eat together, our families socialize together, but generally, after boys and girls reach the age of 7, the Prophet said, even if they're brothers and sisters, separate them from the bed. And when they get to the age of menstruation and they realize another level of consciousness, then give them separate rooms. What to do what? To preserve and protect them from tendencies that human beings have, tendencies that has manifested itself in civilizations where they don't do that protection. So we are obeying Almighty God. That's what we're doing. And sometimes we just have to believe what God orders us to do and benefit from the medicine. Sometimes when we don't follow what God tells us to do, then we see later on the reasons why. So we don't apologize for that. We say that it brings us dignity, it brings us distinction. Whether it be the hijab of the women or the separation of the men and the women, it brings us distinction, it brings us dignity and protection and morality, additional morality. That's why.
Apart from the miraculous characteristic of the Quran, which we have looked into so far, it also has a mathematical miracle. An example of this is the numbers of repetitions of some of the words in the Quran. Some related words are surprisingly repeated the same number of times. Below are such words and the numbers of their repetitions in the Quran. The word day, yaum, is repeated 365 times in singular form, while its plural and dual forms, days, ayam, and yaumain, together are repeated 30 times. The number of repetitions of the word month, shahar, is 12. The word payment or reward is repeated 117 times, while the expression forgiveness, mughfirah, which is one of the basic moral principles of the Quran, is repeated exactly twice as many times. The number of times the words world, dunya, and hereafter, akhira, are repeated is also the same, 115. The statement of 7 heavens, Sab'a Samawat, is repeated 7 times. The creation of the heavens, Khalq al-Samawat, is also repeated 7 times. The word faith, Iman, without genitive, is repeated 25 times throughout the Quran, as is also the word infidelity or covering over the truth, Kufr. The words paradise and hell are each repeated 77 times. The word Satan, shaitan, is used in the Quran 88 times, as is the word angels, malaika. The word zakah is repeated 32 times, while the number of repetitions of the word blessing, barakah, is also 32. The words man and woman are also employed equally, 23 times. Sun, shams, and light, nur, both appear 33 times in the Quran. In counting the word light, only the simple forms of the words were included. The expression, the righteous, al-abrar, is used 6 times, but the wicked, al-fujar, is used half as much, i.e. 3 times. Human being is used 65 times. The sum of the number of mentions of the stages of man's creation is the same, i.e. human being, 65, soil, turab, 17, drop of sperm, nutfah, 12, embryo, alaq, 6, half-formed lump of flesh, mudgah, 3, bone, idham, 15, flesh, lahm, 12. The word land appears 13 times in the Quran, and the word sea 32 times, giving a total of 45 references. If we divide that number by that of the number of references to the land, we arrive at the figure 28.8888888889%. The number of total references to land and sea, 45, divided by the number of references to the sea in the Quran, 32, is 71.1111111111%. Extraordinarily, these figures represent the exact proportions of land and sea on the earth today.